The Houston Cougars heading into the 2024 season with a brand new head coach in Willie Fritz coming over from Tulane. They've got some great transfers coming in as well. We're heading out to Houston, Texas to give you an insight on the Houston Cougars heading into the 2024 season. Brad, this is a very intriguing program for us here at Break the Huddle. Not the most talked about program by any means, even though they play in a Power 5 conference. We know Texas leaves the Big 12. We know Oklahoma leaves the Big 12. Houston, right there in the hub of Texas, and the greatest recruiting grounds you could possibly have, especially in the city of Houston. You're talking in your own backyard, you have some of the most elite players in all of the nation to grab from. Willie Fritz is a guy that wins year in and year out wherever he goes, from Tulane to any other program he's been to in the past. He's found a way to win. Can he do the same here at Houston? We've seen the success of other coaches at Houston. We've seen guys like Tom Herman. Brad, I'll turn it over to you. What are your thoughts on Willie Fritz? I know you're really high on this guy. Can he get it done in the Big 12 for the Houston Cougars?
Yeah, Nate, this is first of all, yes, so high on Coach Willie Fritz. Just has been a winner everywhere he has been. And, I first heard of Coach Fritz when he was actually in the state of Texas at Sam Houston State there, of course, at the FCS level. He went on a great 4-year run with the Sam Houston State Bearcats, which ended him getting him to Georgia Southern, which of course took him to Tulane, and then of course ends up at Houston. Nate, you talk about his last 2 years at Tulane: 12 wins in 2022 and 11 wins last year in 23. And this guy was he's just a winner. He just knows how to win. He's a veteran at 63 years old. He's been around football a long time. Nate, I'm curious to see what kind of offense he runs at Houston. Of course, you think about Tom Herman, they were, a very, very balanced spread. Thinking about what their last head coach with Dana Holgerson, just, throwing the ball over the field, throwing the ball 40, 50, sometimes 60 times a game. I think Willie Fritz is definitely going to take a different approach, because we saw him at Tulane with Michael Pratt and some really good running backs where they were a run-heavy team. So that's intriguing. That's very, very intriguing to me. And Nate, another intriguing thing is who he kind of picked up in the transfer portal. He brings over Zeon Chriss, who transferred from Louisiana Lafayette, who was a good quarterback. I wouldn't say he set the world on fire, but he was very, very consistent. But Nate, I want to focus on two tight ends. He brings in transfer Jaden York from Texas Tech, who is a big kid, 6'4", 250. That's intriguing one. The other intriguing one to me is Malik Carr from Michigan State, 6'6", 260. You bring these two guys in and match up nightmares for linebackers and safeties. And, I'm really, really intrigued by the type of offense that Coach Fritz chooses to run. I think Houston's just going to be really, really intriguing to watch. One other guy I want to point out, if you're a Georgia fan and you listen to the channel, you're going to know this name, Mekhi Mews. Now, this kid is not the biggest, but he is exciting. 5'8", goes 185, had some success last year at Georgia. I remember he took a punt back early in the year for a touchdown, played some in the slot, but he transferred. And Nate, this is one of the reasons I love the transfer portal. As bad as it is, it's guys like this that don't get a whole lot of playing time at a big school, but can go to a place like Houston and find themselves getting a lot of snaps. I think Mekhi Mews is going to have a chance there. Nate, the final point that I'll touch on before I turn it over to you is, look, we have been talking about this spring on Break the Huddle, all these changes to the conferences, and Nate, the Big 12 is wide open, and Willie Fritz is a winner. He's successful. He's been in the state of Texas, and with the Big 12 transitioning, of course, the big boys, Texas and Oklahoma, leaving, I think Houston's in a prime position to where they can be really, really successful. Nate, I'll turn it over to you, but I like the move to hire Willie Fritz, and I think the Cougars could have a really, really good year.
Yeah, Brad, it's intriguing to me what the Big 12 is going to look like. We've had a few
Absolutely.
mid-level, I guess, is what most people would talk, Big 12 teams kind of come up through the ranks in the last few years. We've seen TCU's recent run. We saw Baylor a few years ago. Now we're going to get a chance to see who is the new top dog in the Big 12. And I think Houston is one of those teams that can make their mark early. A along with a couple other teams we'll get into further in the spring. I think UCF has a good chance as well. It's a very underrated program, big recruiting grounds down there in the state of Florida. But for this program specifically, I completely agree with you, Brad. I think Willie Fritz was one of the most underrated hires in this whole 2024 offseason. This is your guy. I know he's older, but he knows the lay of the land. He knows how to recruit in that area, even though he's from the coming from the state of Louisiana. And you're looking at the two best states possibly in recruiting for college football outside of Georgia and California and Florida. Louisiana and Texas provide plenty of talent in itself. One thing I noticed about Willie Fritz heading into this season and what he's trying to build, I'm not an insider for that program, obviously. Maybe one day we will be, Brad. But for now, when you look at the roster change, one thing he's really made an emphasis on is getting big guys up front. You mentioned the two
Absolutely.
tight ends. You mentioned the two tight ends up front. I want to mention a couple other guys on both sides of the ball. He gets transferred defensive lineman from Tulane coming over with him from Tulane, Keith Cooper Jr., 6'4", 230 pounds. This is a three-star guy, but look, he's going to provide that stability and that experience up front and that leadership that you need heading into the new program. When you head into a new program, you need guys that have experience in college football, that have those leadership skills. So it kind of takes a little bit off the load player-wise to make sure that players are staying disciplined, they're doing drills the right way, and they're getting it done the right way. And I think Keith Cooper Jr. is one of those guys. You mentioned Mekhi Mews coming over from Georgia, just an absolute speedster. I'm so happy for this guy, and I think he's really, really going to up his chances of getting drafted in the NFL while being coached under Willie Fritz. Runs super fast, really good on special teams, can kind of line up in the slot, maybe even running back at some points. Some end rounds. I really like his abilities there. I mentioned the size up front. He goes out and gets interior offensive lineman from UCLA, 6'5", 250, but you have to think in the weight room he's going to add another 20 to 30 pounds over the offseason. And Jake Wiley, I think he's a really big pickup for the Houston Cougars. Another guy I want to mention, and that's interior offensive lineman coming over from LA Tech, Dakota White, 6'3", 280. Really, really good. I believe he's either going to play tackle or guard or center. He's a really big addition for them. Overall, I think Willie Fritz has done a phenomenal job making sure that he gets guys up front, he gets some guys outside, and like you mentioned, it looks like he's got his quarterback in Zeon Chriss for the foreseeable future. We're going to find out pretty quickly, but yeah, Brad, it's going to be very fascinating to see who ends up being the top dog in the Big 12 in the 2024 season and to come. If you're a Houston fan, be sure to comment down in the comment section below. Let us know what you think about this Willie Fritz hire and what the Cougars can do heading into the 2024 season.